Let's keep going. Okay. All right. So I just have just a few little questions just to hear more about you. So just I did read your essay, but just like tell me how you got to Radford and stuff, your major, stuff like that.
Okay. Well, I got to Radford by happen chance.
Mm-hmm.
I spent my last 4 years in school, which was 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade, because I graduated early. From the time those were 4 years where I was horribly bullied, both with verbal aggression and physical aggression.
Mm.
It was to the extent that I did attend summer school for 3 summers, because at that time the school board allowed students to attend for 3 summers and get enough credits and to graduate a year early.
Mm-hmm.
Now at that time it was mainly female students that were married or who and or already in the workforce that used that. But I said to myself, well, why shouldn't I use it too?
Mm-hmm.
That because I didn't know, nobody would really help me, and at that time bullying was not recognized as anything serious.
Mm-hmm.
So I went 3 summers, and then coming late summer after I'd gone 3 summers, I read or heard that they were talking about doing away with it that year, and there were some other students that would be affected between 5 and 10 if they did that, but it would also, of course, affect me. So what I did was I told my parents, I said, I am not going back to that hellhole if they do not let me graduate early. And I said, I turn 16 in August. I was young for a little young for my grade, but I turned 16, and at that time in Virginia in 1972, you could quit school at 16.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I turned 16 in August, and I will quit school. So unbeknownst to me, my father went up and talked to some people in the school system, the principal, possibly some other people, and I was allowed to graduate. And the other people were allowed to graduate. The only thing, and that is what got me through. I would study from 1 to 2 in the morning at times, and then have to get up at maybe 6 or 6:30 or something to get ready, and to get on the bus, and I would escape into my studies. That would help me deal with it some, but not totally deal with it, because I knew every single day that the bullying was going to be there when I went there. But it did help so much knowing that it was coming to an end. Unfortunately, I had spent all my energy with the studying, because I really wanted to study and make good grades so that, fill in a class or something, which I, never did anyway, but so that wouldn't be an issue. And at the first of that last year that I was in school, I knew that my grades were good. I did not know how, good they were in comparison to others, and it turned out that they were 2nd out of 301 students, and I maintained that rank all year and was the salutatorian at the end of the year. But several of the students in the National Honor Society had been keeping close tabs on their ranks for years. And when they found out through the advisor to the National Honor Society what my rank was before I did, which I thought was a big privacy invasion, then they just had their different tantrums. One ethical member of the National Honor Society came to me and said, "Joe, they're talking about getting up a petition saying that you're not worthy of being salutatorian." And here I was doing at 16 what they were doing at 18 and 19. And then they also came up with this idea that got back to me, that perhaps they should recognize me at graduation but not let me be like salutatorian. And but nothing came of any of that, although years and years later the student that was ranked 11 in in the class of 1972 at Carroll County High School, Crystal Goad, she had always acted funny towards me, but I didn't know why she hated me so, but I found out because I was teaching a class in psychology as an adjunct instructor through Whitfield Community College, and she was a full-time instructor in their licensed practical nurse program. And then one day in the building that they used to have some of the classes in the satellite classes, I walked up to get my mail, and and she was upstairs, and she said, "I hate you. You helped. Let's see. You kept me out of top 10. One time, let's see." She said, "One time you helped me with a physics problem, but I hate you." And I didn't know that all these years, because that was 20 or 30 years later, how strongly she felt. And she didn't know anything about the history of my bullying and why I wanted to get out. I mean, she could have been top 10 or whatever. I didn't care about that. I just really and truly wanted out. But I got to thinking about it, that there were 9 other students that kept her from being in the top 10. Yeah. And I also, you could think of these comebacks, and I should have, because I didn't say anything, I just walked off and left. But I should have said, "Well, Crystal, I guess you should have studied harder." But now she did study hard, but with class rank and everything, that really gets, people really get caught up in the class rank to the extent that they don't, their love of learning is affected. And I had a love of learning, but I can't say that the bullying did affect it some. But also I was able to use it to sort of try to escape, at least for a while. But anyway, because I had used all my energy in just trying to graduate early, I had not selected a college. I had not spent a great deal of time even thinking about what will happen after high school. Well, I learned that Radford had just gone coeducational, and I learned it from my cousin Jean Bowman, who's deceased now, but was a graduate of Radford, and she told me about it. And I also read it in the Roanoke Times, and I read that the legislature had approved it. Well, Radford, on its timeline, on this piece of literature that I have seen around, maybe in the alumni office or different places, when it'll have like different dates, like in 1948, for instance, Radford College, a student was Miss Virginia, so they had 1948 in that. And then when it came to 1972, it says fall 1972, Radford becomes coeducational, and the guys come to Radford. Well, that is not true at all, because I was here the summer of 1972 in Norwood Hall, and I, was the first, and there's article, and then there's article in the Roanoke Times too, and then when the Graper Chat. So, I wish they would correct that, that you could put that in the tartan.
Yeah.
That, that somebody was sloppy with that, but anyway, and I just decided, and I didn't have any time, really much turnaround time to decide to come, but for something inside me told me, well, why don't you try Radford? That, it was close enough by and far enough away, and all. I don't know how much I really thought about it at that time, being a former all-girls college. It was all-female college. It was all-female in that the undergraduate students were female, although over the years, especially in decades and decades ago, when there was a teacher shortage, they would let men come on campus to take these abbreviated courses to get a teaching certificate. So, but as far as, having like officially, having male undergraduates, Radford was not co-ed. In the graduate programs, they were coeducational, and that's not unusual. At Hollins College, their programs at the graduate level are some of those are coeducational, and Hollins has a very well respected writing program, very well nationally respected writing program, and there have been men who have graduated from it. Salem College in Winston-Salem does not admit men as undergraduates, but then in their graduate program, I believe they have like masters in maybe education or counseling. They admit men there, and I think that part of the reasoning and that they do is that at the graduate level, the men at those colleges probably don't live on campus